Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I always love it when I can start a video featuring John McAfee because he fascinates me. For those of you that have not seen it, I think it's still on there. There's a documentary on Netflix about John McAfee. If you've never seen it, it's pretty fascinating. This guy is a very interesting guy, and he's very smart, maybe too smart for his own good. I don't know yet. But as you know, he's a big Bitcoin guy, and so I thought his tweet here was pretty funny. Come on, people, it's time to brush up your basic math skills and run some numbers. It is mathematically impossible for Bitcoin to be less than $1 million by the end of 2020. Bitcoin is not an effing stock. You can't apply stock paradigms or formulas and expect answers. And he's tweeting this was an article that says PayPal director, IBM blockchain, join McAfee in Bitcoin $1 million price prediction, a certainty or speculation. But anyway, I sure hope that he's right, because guess what, folks? If Bitcoin gets to $1 million, guess what happens to the value of your XRP? I'm pretty darn sure of it. It'd go crazy. Okay, next, I wanted to show you this. I showed you that the crypto movie is coming out on Friday. Well, this is from XRP Deist, Deist XRP, screenshot from the new movie Crypto. Not even Hollywood can say its name, and he's talking about how we talk often on here about how everybody seems terrified to utter the words Ripple or XRP. You'll be watching CNBC. They'll include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash. Even when XRP's market cap has been above Ethereum's market cap, they won't show XRP. And I've said that seems to be a real issue. And I've always thought that there's an intentional reason, coordinated reason behind it. And now we're seeing that in the movie Crypto, they've intentionally left out XRP in the list when it's in third place market cap wise after Ethereum right now. So I found that fascinating, and there's example after example of that. Next, from Bob in Deep XRP, at Bob in Deep XRP, he sent me two things that I found very interesting about the big bad inflation. How big government politicians cause the inequality they claim to fight. Inflation is a silent tax. Everyone knows it's there, but not many people feel threatened by it because it seems like it's under control. I want to read you a little bit from this article, folks, and just let this sink in really, really well, especially those of you that are too young to really know about this and how this works. Here it goes. The $22 trillion national debt is one of the biggest threats to the future of American prosperity. To put into perspective how serious it is, according to the Federal Reserve, there is only $1.7 trillion of U.S. currency circulating in the world. GDP for 2017 was $19.4 trillion. The value of the entire U.S. economy is approximately $120 trillion. If 15% of the assets in the United States disappeared overnight to pay off the debt, it would create a new economic disaster. There are only three ways to reverse this trend. One, cut spending drastically. Two, raise taxes. And three, print money out of thin air to pay this down. And then in parentheses it says inflation. Politicians avoid the first two solutions because they fear it would be unpopular and get them voted out of office. Although that seems to be changing on the Democratic side. But inflation is the silent tax that most people hardly think about. Printing more money to get out of debt is not a revolutionary idea, though Paul Krugman would like you to think otherwise. It has been done before, and devastating results have often followed. In Germany, after World War I, inflation spiraled out of control as the government printed more money to pay its war debt, and the entire country entered a process called hyperinflation. By 1920, prices on average were 12 times higher than they were before the war. Many people who were not rich with assets were economically ruined, and this policy would help lead to the rise of the Nazis and World War II. Now, folks, there are two things historically that can fight inflation in terms of investing. Historically, it's a category, and that is gold, silver, precious metals. More specifically, gold and silver. Those two things historically are designed to fight inflation, or they're a store of value to fight inflation. There is one new asset class since the creation of bonds that now is going to have the ability to fight inflation, and the governments don't control it. It's called digital assets. And XRP, they will not be making more of. Bitcoin, they will not be making more of. Digital assets are the answer to this irresponsibility by the governments. I also got this article from him, from Crypto. I almost said Bitcoin Ben. Bob Indeep is who I think that was. Fiat A Bubble. That's the true bubble, people. Fiat is the true bubble. It's the bubble of bubbles. Debt is the bubble of bubbles. It's all related. Fiat A Bubble, Bitcoin a safe refuge in the age of inflation. And they're talking about inflation is at 55% according to cryptocurrency enthusiast and software developer Lyle Pratt. Inflation is up by more than 55%. For this reason, he believes that it is time for Plan B, which is the adoption of Bitcoin. Not just Bitcoin, but the greatest digital asset ever created, XRP. But look at this, folks. Because XRP will have a function to fight off, to be a flight from inflation. It will be a flight from inflation. This is what he put up. Price changes selected U.S. consumer goods, services, and wages. And he's showing overall inflation 55%. How hospital services, college textbooks, college tuition, child care medical services, wages, housing, food and beverage. I know food and beverage just firsthand. When I was in the 90s, when I was in college, we would go out and get a steak and put it on the grill. It's very rare that people go out. Have you ever noticed? It's rare that you see people cook steaks anymore because steak has gone up in price so much. Inflation, folks, inflation. All right, moving along. Now, I got this from @X Lighting the Way, and that is this tweet. Look what popped up in Bank of America training portal. Now, I'm assuming that this crypto Bitcoin Chris either works at Bank of America or somehow has access to Bank of America's trading portal. So look what their training portal shows. Cryptocurrencies in 2019. And this course starts 1/16/2019. Virtual currency as an economic exchange of the future. How about that, folks? Now, I wonder why they would have training courses like that, unless they knew what you and I have known for a long time. All right, next from XRP, X Lighting the Way. It's a race now. Who will be first? This is huge right here, folks. Ledger X reveals bid to beat back to physical Bitcoin futures. This is from CoinDesk. And I want to show you down here, this is what's really important. The regulatory roadmap. The company filed for a license to offer futures contracts in November 2018 and has been engaged in constructive dialogue with the CFTC since, Chow said. However, she could not comment on a timeline for when CFTC might approve LedgerX's application on what sort of reception the firm is expected for customers. The CFTC, this is the important part. The this part is the reason that LedgerX might be ahead of Bakkt in getting the approval for physical Bitcoin futures. In other words, they have to invest physically in Bitcoin. The CFT has already granted LedgerX 2 licenses allowing the firm to act as a swap execution facility, which is the company's exchange platform, and the derivatives clearing organization, which is the clearinghouse. LedgerX's DCM application is therefore just an additional license on top of its existing permissions. Operationally, the company is already set up to provide future services, according to Chow. We're custodying Bitcoin in the same way that we currently do. We've obviously been live and operational for more than a year and a half. We have a license from the CFTC, the DCO license, that allows us to custody the Bitcoin. Now, folks, this could very well put them ahead of Bakkt. So Bakkt could be taking their time. Who knows what Bakkt's doing? But the point is, these guys are already in business. They've already got licenses that are accepted by that are approved by the CFTC. They could be moved to the front of the line. And if so, this could all happen faster than we think. Physical Bitcoin futures, that is huge. Next, this is also huge. CZ Binance has finally had enough with Craig Wright and decided that they're going to delist Bitcoin SV, which is Craig Wright's, his version of Bitcoin that he likes, which I think it's funny that there are so many versions, but I think that's part of what is making a lot of these guys in digital assets nervous, is they see all this infighting as hurting the whole digital asset space. So CZ Binance has now delisted Bitcoin SV. I'm sure he can be expecting a lawsuit from Craig Wright soon. Next, and this is interesting too. This is from the crypto Moon Overlord, at Moon Overlord. A sad story. Well, Rand Nooner, who is from CNBC Crypto, he tweeted about this. Binance is actually delisting BSV. Sad what's going on in our industry. And then this was tweeted. Crypto Man Rand deleted after 15 minutes this tweet. So he deleted his tweet. So that's some more drama going on. Have no idea what that's about. And then there's this, folks. Binance, this is from TradingView. Binance decided to delist and cease trading on all trading pairs for BSV. Does this coin have a chance to survive after the shout around self-proclaimed Satoshi? And hold on not. Check the chart and leave your comments below. This is the chart of Bitcoin SV once that decision to delist came out. And next, from Crypto Utility Guy, at Utility Guy 7, he sent me this. Bitcoin transaction costs are so much cheaper than credit cards, says Canadian mayor. If you remember a while back, I think this is the Canadian town that was going to let people pay their property taxes with Bitcoin, and now they're finding out how much cheaper it is than credit cards. Well, wait till they get a load of XRP, folks. That's what we need to do. I'm going to go in this article and I'm going to tweet something out to this mayor. I'm going to find the mayor and I'm going to tweet her out that if she thinks Bitcoin is cheap, she needs to try XRP. That is what the digital asset investor is going to do as soon as I finish this video. I'm glad I thought of that. Okay, and finally this, not just Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP coming to institutional crypto traders in Japan. Japanese crypto exchange CoinCheck is bringing Ethereum and XRP to institutional investors. The exchange just launched over-the-counter trading for two leading crypto assets following the debut of Bitcoin on April 1st. OTC trading allows investors with deep pockets to make large trades at a prearranged fixed price without having to deal with price fluctuations on traditional spot trading order books. And now they've added XRP, folks. And finally, I wanted to show you this because this is great. I love seeing these kind of chart guys talk about this kind of thing. Ryan W. at Ryan ICCNN. Everything here screams bull party. Yeah, I know everybody keeps saying it, but you had best be ready. My bags are loaded, and XRP has a habit of melting faces when it goes. That said, always practice risk management. And yes, folks, as I've said, I've been here since 2013. And XRP, many of those times, I've seen XRP sit there while some of these other digital assets move, and I've seen the frustration and heard the frustration and felt the frustration. And then all of a sudden, XRP starts melting faces, just like he says here. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that XRP will melt faces at some point. Thank you for listening.